Okay, so let's go ahead and get diving into the training. Let me just get my screen set up here. There are 3 steps women-owned small businesses can take to improve their chances of winning more government contracts. They can modernize their marketing assets, they can make sure that they're where the buyers are looking, and they can 10x the right activities. When women-owned small businesses do these 3 things, they're going to start seeing more success. They'll get into agencies more, they'll develop more relationships with buyers and teammates, and buyers and teammates will start knocking on their door. If that's what you want, if that's what you want for your company, then join me in this training about the 3 ways women-owned small businesses can win more government contracts. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I want to welcome you to my daily federal sales training where I teach tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow the process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results, and that's what I want for you. Before we get started, do me a favor, in the chat, in the comments, if you're watching the replay, put your company name so buyers remember who you are. Put your core competency, 2 or 3 words that describe your product or services, what you sell. Put that in the chat so the people in the community also know, and that I begin to remember what your company does. I occasionally look over and just to see if I can see something in the chat there, and I'm looking at Kurt, and Kurt saying trucking and logistics. That will begin to stick in my head, right? It'll take me 10, 15 times, Kurt. Sorry, but it just will. So come back 10 or 15 times. But I've done 250 of these trainings. And so if Kurt is showing up over and over and over again, pretty soon that sticks in my head, because someday somebody is going to be talking about logistics, or they're going to be talking about trucking and shipping, et cetera. I'm like, hey, have you talked to Kurt? He does trucking and logistics. And so that's why I'm asking you to put it in there. So buyers, the people in the community, and me, that I can remember. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, I want to just make sure you're tracking on this. We released 3 directories. They're new directories for 2023 that are super helpful to your business. And go download them off of govconchamber.com. But this first one, small business specialists, 1,000+ names of federal buyer representatives, names, numbers, and emails. Long range acquisition forecast. We just try to keep compiling it in one place so you don't have to search the internet. We do that. That way you can identify those slam dunk opportunities that'll fit for you. And the last one is the vendor supplier portal. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, because that's about being where the buyers are looking for you. Finally, I wanted to say thank you to the GovCon Chamber of Commerce sustaining members. We don't take any federal dollars. We don't take any money from large primes as sponsors. Sustaining members like you are the ones who make this training possible, make those directories possible. And we really appreciate your help in being part of the sustaining membership of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the 3 ways women-owned small businesses can start winning more government contracts. One way women-owned small businesses can start winning more government contracts is to modernize your marketing assets. And so I want to talk about why you should be doing that. What are the assets that I'm talking about? And then what are, I'm just going to give you 2 quick tips on how to modernize those marketing assets that you might have. So the first thing I want to talk about is, why is it important to modernize your marketing assets? If you're not tracking on this, there's 2 ways of doing sales. Basically, there's proactive or reactive, right? And reactive and proactive. And reactive is people seeing your marketing material that's sitting out there 24/7. Your marketing material sits out there communicating who you are, and so you want it to look good and modern. I call it you want to be findable and attractive. You want, when somebody is looking for a company like yours, to look at your marketing assets and to realize that your company does do what they're looking for. Whether it's elevators or cybersecurity, they look at your marketing assets and it makes them want to continue on to talk with you. And so marketing assets are always selling for you, even while you're sleeping, right? And so that's one reason you want to make sure your marketing assets represent modern era. You want them to reflect a 2023 version of your company, not a 1990s version of your company, or some people 1980s version of your company. Look at your marketing assets. And I'm not talking about spending thousands of dollars. I'm talking about spending thousands of seconds. And I don't even know if that's the right way to say that, but really an hour or less it would take to do the tips I'm about to show you for modernizing your marketing assets. And I'll talk about how to do that in a second. But let's talk about what are the 6 key marketing assets within the federal market that you should have. And of these, you want to make sure they're modernized. And so the first one is DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search Tool. This is a database that together with SAM make up your small business profile. When federal buyers look, that is the #1 market research tool they have. And so it's your #1 marketing asset because it's out there all the time. The second one is your capability statement. The third one is your capability briefing deck, the PowerPoint slides, right? The fourth one is your website. The fifth one is your LinkedIn personal profile. So that'd be my personal LinkedIn page. And then the sixth one is my LinkedIn company page or your LinkedIn's company page. So those are the 6 marketing assets. You want to look at them and apply the next 2 tips I'm going to give you as a way to modernize these marketing assets. So the first tip I have for you is you want to look at these marketing assets and make sure that they can be understood in 2 to 4 seconds. I call this a modernization step because in the old days, people used to read and have spend a lot more time just digging into your marketing material. We don't do that anymore. Right now, our attention span collectively is pretty small. In fact, in 2018, when I started the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, I used to say, have a 6-second capability statement. And you're going to see me start putting out material about have a 3 to 4 second capability statement. And so what I mean when I say 2 to 4 seconds, think about it from these marketing assets. I'm going to say it really quickly, but you can just track on this, right? Dynamic small business search. When somebody looks for a company like yours, they'll type in, let's say, cybersecurity. A whole bunch of companies will come up in a table. Your company name and a little capability briefing are typically what they see about your company. So that capability briefing in 2 to 4 seconds, they need to read it and go, is this a cybersecurity company or is this a company that just put the word cybersecurity into a bunch of other stuff? Does that make sense? And then the next one is your capability statement. Capability statements should not be beautiful. They should not win awards for great graphics. They should be easily understood in 2 to 4 seconds about what your company does. Let's keep going with cybersecurity for a second. The way the government reads a capability statement is in a Z format, same as we all read a book, left to right and all the way down the page. Well, your capability statement, starting from the top left, going over to the right, and then down to the bottom left and over to the bottom right, that needs to tell them in 2 to 4 seconds what you do. And when they look at it, they need to be able to see this and go, let's say, oh, it's a woman-owned small business. They can tell that because your logo's in the top. They come to your core competencies, cybersecurity, cybersecurity, cybersecurity. They go to your experience. Past performance is in the bottom left-hand corner is where I say to put it. And down there, it says past performance, past performance, past performance, all kinds of cybersecurity related. And then they come over and they see NAICS codes or something that relate to that. That is allowing that capability statement to be seen in 2 to 4 seconds or communicate in 2 to 4 seconds that your company is a cybersecurity firm. Okay, capability briefing deck. When I say 2 to 4 seconds, in this case, I mean the slide. So if you've got, let's say, 5 or 6 slides, every slide should communicate everything you really want it to communicate in 2 to 4 seconds. And even that's being generous because there shouldn't be that much on a slide. In this case, it's closer to 2 seconds. They can look and go, oh, I see it. This is past performance. I see it. This is your core competency, or this is cybersecurity broken up, right? And definitely you can do this with construction or with training or anything else. I'm just using cybersecurity. So it's the same thing as you come along. Your website, when I talk about 2 to 4 seconds on your website, because there's so much content, what I'm looking for is in 2 to 4 seconds, they can find your UEI, your cage code, and your capability statement. Everything else can take longer than 2 to 4 seconds because this is a much bigger marketing asset. It's a deep dive marketing asset. But when a buyer or market researcher or a teammate comes to your website, they need to be able to find your UEI and your cage code to go do more research, and they need to find your capability statement so they can download it. Do not gate it. The only reason you would require a name and an email on your capability statement is if you want less money in your business. Why would you put friction between the buyer and you in your capability statement, the #1 marketing asset that says, hey, this is what we sell and we'd love to sell it to you? Give it away. Throw it from rooftops. Don't litter. Okay, and LinkedIn company page, LinkedIn personal page, same things. They need to be able to come in and quickly see, okay, you support the federal government, you did this core competency, and here's how I can go learn more. Okay, so the one other tip I want to give you on modernizing your marketing assets, and I realize I'm talking at a fire hose pace, but hopefully this stuff will stick on lessons. You can also watch replay. But the second thing to modernize your marketing assets is to ensure that your marketing assets, where possible, are using metadata. This is the property of files. And so if you're not familiar, if you go into a Word document or a PDF, if you go into your PowerPoint deck for your briefing deck and go to the top, most, certainly Windows, and I think Mac is basically the same, go to File, and in the File menu, you will see something called Properties. That's metadata. It's data about your document. And the reason this is really important is because there's a couple of fields that you want to update for two reasons. One is so that when somebody is searching you, you have put in the keywords that can get you found better. And the second is people who use metadata rise above people who don't. If there's 100 capability statement that says cybersecurity, but you're the only one using metadata because most people do not use it, if you're the only one using it, your capability statement will come to the top. It won't be alphabetical. The way the computers work is if you use metadata, it ranks it as a higher value. So the 5 types of fields I want you to pay attention to are the title. Make sure you have a good title. It doesn't say just PowerPoint. It doesn't say capability statement 2023. It actually says your company name, capability statement, and you might even throw a keyword right into the file name and the title. The second one is your company. Inside the metadata, you can put your company name. So put it. The third one is it says author, and there's various ways of describing it, but you can tell it's about a person. Put your name in there, put your business developers in there. You can put more than one author. That way, if somebody's searching, you get found. Google is indexing all this stuff out there as well. The fourth one that I want you to pay attention to are tags. These are just keyword in general. So for example, if I put something out and I want to reach the broadest small business community, I will be putting in WOSB, SDVO, SB, HubZone, 8A, small business, GovCon, things like that, right? I'm putting in all the keywords I want to have my material be found if you're searching. Well, you want to think that same way. How will your buyer and teammates search for you? If it's cybersecurity, they might search for RMF or risk management framework. Putting those in the tag field will allow you to be discoverable and then also rank higher. And the last one is a narrative. There's a field in the metadata called subject. And if you go in there, it's a long field. And I take my DSBS profile sometimes where it has a capability narrative. It's 1,000 characters, and it's basically an elevator pitch. I pick it up and I drop it into the subject line or comments of my documents. That way it gives me all sorts of other keywords to be found on. And if this is on your website, for example, if you apply this metadata to your capability statement and put your capability statement on your website or on your LinkedIn profile, Google will index it, search it. If somebody's looking for a WOSB cybersecurity, you might be one of the results coming back. So I know it's a really fire hose thing. You can go back and watch the replay, but the 2 tips on your marketing assets for modernization is make sure that people can understand what you do in 2 to 4 seconds. Don't try to convince us. Hand it to somebody and say, do you know what I do? And if they can tell you, you've done a good job. The second one is add metadata or properties. So if you're following along with that, do me a favor, put marketing into the chat. Just let me know you understand that we want to be modernizing our marketing assets. Another way that women-owned small businesses can win more contracts is by being where the buyer is looking. And this is really important. If you don't understand this, I think of everything I train, this is the most important thing I train on. And I've been doing this for 5 years because it is so important. There are 2 ways that buyers and teammates will find you. Either you will go looking for them or they will go looking for you. So let's talk about when they're looking for you, right? When companies or buyers or teammates are looking for companies like yours. You need to be where the buyers are looking, so you remove the friction. Be where the teammates are looking. And then so let me go ahead and give you some examples of what I mean by where to look. And I got, these ones are just so important to me. Today is March 6th. We're in Women's History Month, but I almost called it Women's Business Owner Month because that's what I'm focusing on. And I've had data from March 6th. So today is the day I'm doing this live. If you're watching the recording, just want to give you that perspective. But in the federal space, there are 85,000 businesses that claim to be women-owned small businesses, what I call self-certified women-owned small businesses. So in SAM, there are 85,000 women-owned businesses. There are 9,000 of those 85 that are actually SBA certified. And so now the way things are working, there's really 9,000 women-owned small businesses that can be going after those kind of set-asides, and 85,000 of them are not. The part I want to point out is on LinkedIn. If you go into LinkedIn and you search for WOSB, right? That's a normal search. There's only 1,200 people, 1,200 business owners or people who are working for women-owned small business firms that put in WOSB. Be where the buyer looks. The buyer is on LinkedIn. If they're happen to browsing LinkedIn and say, let me go search for women-owned small businesses that do cybersecurity, well, only 1,200 firms even come up as WOSB, right? And so that's an easy step for you to do, is to go into LinkedIn and put WOSB. The next one is Dynamic Small Business Search, so DSBS. Again, there's 85,000 self-certified women-owned small businesses within DSBS. Inside of there, only 9,000 of them are SBA woman-owned small businesses. When I saw this discrepancy, by the way, I'm determined to figure out why. If there's that many, what's the barrier to women-owned small businesses to go get certified? What is the SBA doing that's making it so hard that virtually like 70,000 women-owned small businesses, 75,000 are not getting certified? So that's a big project for me if anybody wants to join me. But the part that matters to me is that 75% of the women-owned small businesses are invisible in DSBS. Remember, I said if I go in and type cybersecurity, for example, into DSBS as a market researcher for the federal agency, and I say I want to find a woman-owned small business, when the results come back, it comes back in a table with a bunch of company names and a bunch of capability narratives. 70%, 75% of them are empty. Not just badly written, they're empty. That means you're virtually invisible to the buyer. I would say you're actually invisible to the buyer, because when we see an empty narrative, we just move on. Why would I look at an empty capability narrative where the company didn't take the time to tell us what they sell, when there's so many companies that have told me what they sell? I'm going to go look at those ones. And so you need to get into DSBS, dsbs.sba.gov. Get into there, look at your profile. Does it look good to you, right? If a buyer comes looking, do you think they'll find you for the reasons you want to be found? And then the last one is supplier portal. The very beginning, I talked about the supplier portal that we had created, that directory. So I want you to download it. But in there, we have over 100 different supplier portals, including, DSBS is the big one. So including federal agency, unique supplier portals that they have, and then large primes. Remember that number about 85,000 women-owned businesses that sell to the federal government. 9,000 of them are SBA certified. So there's this big number of 9,000 women-owned small businesses. But if you go into the supplier portals, HHS, Health and Human Services, for example, they have their own portal. So when HHS buyers, and they spend a ton of money, when they're looking for women-owned small businesses, they don't go to DSBS first. They have built a tool internally that they go there first, and then they go to DSBS if they can't find what they're looking for. If they find what they're looking for in their own portal, why look somewhere else? So HHS, remember, there's 9,000 women-owned small businesses. HHS right now only has 2,586 women-owned small businesses registered in there saying they want to sell to HHS. HHS buys everything. That means 70% of the certified, not the whole women-owned small businesses, but just the certified, 70% of the women-owned small businesses are basically invisible to the HHS buyers. But it takes 5 minutes to get registered in there, maybe 10, to have your business in there, right? I can't think of a single reason not to be in that supplier portal. Department of Education, right? 9,000 certified small businesses, they have 679. 95% of the women-owned small businesses aren't telling Department of Education that they want to sell to them, or they're willing to, talk to them if they're looking for what they're selling. And all you have to do is go in there. Their process takes a little bit of time, and they spend about $40 billion a year. I don't know about you, but $40 billion a year has a lot of room to be able to pursue contracts. And the last example I'll give you is the Naval Facilities Systems Command, NAVFAC, out of the Navy. They only have 573 women-owned small businesses registered in their portal, but they love women-owned small businesses. If you go look at where they're spending money, they're far exceeding the federal government on spending with women-owned small businesses. If I was a small business, a woman-owned small business, I would want to be going to the agencies that actually are buying from women-owned small businesses, not to the people who aren't hitting their goals. And NAVFAC is hitting it out of the park. So do me a favor, be visible into the chat. Just let me know you understand this idea that you need to be where the buyers are looking. And by the way, quick side is that because this is Women History Month, and because we're celebrating women-owned business owners or women business owners, we've got this offering that we're doing, a free or complimentary visibility gap analysis. So somebody will put a link from my team, they'll put it into the chat. But basically, if you go to govconchamber.com/WOSB, we'll do a free visibility gap analysis for you and tell you what you look like to the federal buyer. This is a really helpful thing. I've done it for over 1,000 businesses, and always very helpful because it tells you exactly what you need to change. Okay, so let me wrap up these tips with the big one, I think, which is if you want to start winning more government contracts as a woman-owned small business, then you need to 10x the right activity, right? Just increase the amount of right activity things you're doing by 10 times. When you attend my training, I give you the knowledge, right? I take the time to give you the knowledge that will develop the skills that you need to succeed in the federal market. Those skills, they're the right activity, but you need to do a lot of those right activities to really start getting good at it and to start winning contracts. And I want to give you an example of the right activity, right? Is that I have somebody who's attending the same training that you're attending, woman-owned business, but she tracked on one of the activities I said, and this one might be beyond you if you're newer into the business, but I said you need to be writing 4 proposals every single month. And she followed that traction. Last year, she got the training, and in January, she wrote 4 proposals. She started doing this. She wrote 4 proposals and won 2 of them. 4 proposals she wrote in January had already turned into sales. The other 2 were still pending. And what I'm trying to say here is that when you do the activity, you increase the likelihood of success. If she had written 0 proposals, it would have been 0 wins. If she had written 1 proposal, it might have been 0 wins still, right? But when she got to 4 proposals, she started getting traction. The reason I say 4 proposals, by the way, is because I generally believe that you can win 1 out of every 4 proposals as long as you stay in your sweet spot. And so when you're doing the right activity and then enough of the right activity, it starts delivering back to you the results that you're looking for. So let me give you 2 examples of activity, the right activity that I want you to increase starting immediately. The first one is that I want you to engage with 10 buyers and teammates daily on LinkedIn. I always time block something or box something, and I say 30 minutes for this activity at most. Don't go beyond 30 minutes, but I want you to reach out on LinkedIn and engage with 10 buyers and teammates. And the way I break it down is that you want to be reaching out to 4 buyers, 4 teammates, and then 2 of these people I call supporters or partners. An example is if you're in the government cloud business, maybe it's Amazon Web Services, you're tracking on people or even their company page and sharing their information. Maybe it's the PTAC, and the PTAC's putting information out that you can engage with. Maybe it's people like my friend Juliet, who's constantly writing proposal tips out there. You can engage. I engage with her because it's good. I learn. I'm engaged in her community. She's engaged in mine. You can find people who are the right teaming partners, or like partners or OEM type people to reach out. But the other 8 people are teammates and buyers. And so you want to be engaging those type of people. And the reason you want to be doing this is because this is social selling. I talked about modernizing your marketing assets. Well, you want to modernize your sales. Sales is not walking the halls. That's what we used to do in the government world, in the federal market. We would walk the halls of the Pentagon. We would walk the halls of HHS, popping our head in doors. It was crazy. A lot of things were crazy. I used to sell vacuum cleaners door to door. But social selling is about using the social media platforms that are out there to begin to reach your buyers, engage with your buyers, engage with your teammates. And so it's really important you move over. By engaging every single day, 10 different times a day, you're obviously 10xing this, but you're also making sure you're staying fresh in the minds of your buyers and of your teammates, right? Another reason is that when you engage with them, you're supporting the very people you hope support you or buy from you or turn to you when they're looking for opinions. When you're engaging somebody, for example, I just engaged somebody's content on the government side. They put out a new strategic plan and I engaged with it. I was like, oh, hey, this is great. I looked at this page. And by doing that, I'm starting a conversation that they're trying to start. I'm supporting their use of social media. They'll appreciate that. Plus, I get value out of the content they share. You don't want to just do it for the fun of it. So engaging with 10 buyers on LinkedIn, how do you do that? Let me tell you exactly how I do it in just a few quick steps. The first thing is I stay very focused on government contracting, right? I'm a government contractor. If I'm you and I'm a woman-owned small business, as an example, you just want to make sure people, when they think about you and they think about your profile, they're constantly thinking about cybersecurity and government contracting, as an example. Whatever business. I have customers in elevators and she's fully engaged with construction on LinkedIn and having a lot of good traction there. But you want to stay focused on government contracting so it doesn't distract people. The two places you will go look to engage, and engagement, by the way, is a thumbs up or commenting, like I just mentioned. But the first place you're going to look is in the notifications. If you go into LinkedIn, you'll see you have a notification tab, and these are this is where LinkedIn is telling you, hey, you wanted to follow Neil. Here's what he said recently. I use the bell notification or the bell icon or whatever it's called on somebody's profile. I'll go to your profile, I'll hit the bell, and now LinkedIn will be sending that not only to my feed, but into my notification tab. And I keep that notification very clean. If I don't like it, I stop following somebody. So I'm only seeing the stuff I want. So that's a great place to go, because your favorite buyers in the Navy or Department of Education, you want to be hitting the bell notification so that LinkedIn pushes their content to you and it pushes it into a place where it's not crowded. The second place where it's crowded is your feed. Your feed is where LinkedIn is sharing content from everybody in your network, sometimes even second connections, et cetera. But it's still a great place to come down, because if you are connected with people who are in the GovCon space, or if you're in cybersecurity, you're connected with cybersecurity or elevators, right? Then you will begin to get content that's related to that. I didn't realize how fast my time was going. I'm going to brush up against this, but this will be the first day I go right past 12:30, but I'll only make a couple of minutes because I'd rather end smoothly than to rush. The second tip is to call 10 new people a day. Again, time block it to 30 minutes a day. So you want to call 10 new people a day, or if you happen to talk with somebody and you use up to 30 minutes, that's okay too, because that was a good day. But you want to proactively be reaching out to new people. When you call 10 new people a day, you're actually calling 50 people a week, 200 new people a month, 2,400 new people a year. Imagine what you could do after reaching out to 2,400 new people in your federal buyer world or your teammate world, right? Remember that 4 proposals, 2 sales. Well, 2,400 cold calls, if you will, new calls, are going to turn into some really good relationships that will lead to opportunities, which will lead to sales. One of the things that on how I do that is I'm not asking to talk with them right then and there. When I talk about reaching out to 10 new people a day, what I mean is picking up the phone, calling them and asking to schedule a meeting 1 or 2 weeks out. And I've got training that tells you how to do that. But when you do that, you're able to schedule a meeting with them and then prepare for that. Most times you get voicemail. So leave a voicemail and then follow up with an email and then just continue it. Today's tip, though, this training one, is about just making sure you're calling 10 people a day. That's how you do 10 a day, is by just calling, picking up the phone, leaving a voicemail and leaving an email. And then they'll start getting back to you, right? When they get back to you, set meetings. But my point is, if you don't call new people every day, then how will you meet new people? So 10x my activity, put that in the chat, 10x my activity into the chat. If you'd like that complimentary gap analysis, put gap analysis in the chat as well. And then fill out the form. Let me see if I got this caption right here. You can find it right there. I put the link to the website. But put that, fill out that form and I'll do a complimentary gap analysis, or somebody on my team will, for your visibility to the buyer. And remember, if you want to start winning more government contracts as a woman-owned small business, do these 3 things. Modernize your marketing asset, be where the buyers and teammates are looking, and then 10x the right activity that'll lead to the success that you want. Do me a favor, go to LinkedIn right now. Here's the tip for you. Go to LinkedIn, and if you're a woman-owned small business, put WOSB somewhere in your profile so it shows up when people are looking for companies like yours and they type in WOSB, right? When they're looking for a woman-owned small business, it'll take you like 2 minutes to put WOSB into your profile, and Google will index it, and you'll massively increase your visibility to buyers and teammates. For sustaining members, you see how much of a fire hose this is. I'm going to turn this into a mini course and put this on the library. So for sustaining members, you'll have access to that. And then for everybody else, remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.